This is RT International. The French President Francois Hollande has today arrived in the port town of Calais after vowing to close the migrant camp known as the Jungle as soon as possible. Now, the number of people living there topping at least 10,000. And this record figure makes it Europe's biggest makeshift migrant slum. The authorities' failure to handle it has turned the camp into one of the main symbols of the EU's migrant crisis, as well as a major challenge for the French government. RT's Harry Fear now with more on President Hollande's visit.
Hollande arrived then today in Calais by helicopter. It's his first trip to the city in his term as president, and he is visiting the city, not the camp itself. He spoke this morning of reiterating his promise to completely dismantle the camp before winter.
If we want to provide dignity, solidarity and protection, we must dismantle the Calais camp because it goes against our main Republican principle and because it's in our common interest.
He also said he was determined to see Britain play its part in solving the Calais crisis in spite of the nation's vote for Brexit. And the whole Calais question has become domestically in France really something of a political hot potato. And he touched on that issue today in his speech, talking about political outbidding on how to tackle the camp. And you can see why. It's just a number of days ago that his conservative predecessor, French President, the former President Nicolas Sarkozy, made a trip here, speaking very tough on immigration, really upstaging the sitting president. Take a listen.
I'm here to listen to the people of Calais. There is no region that has shown the humanity and restraint that you have. We want the jungle to disappear. We do not want people to disappear, but we want the situation in Calais to return to normal.
Well, Sarkozy is, of course, vying again for the top job in next year's presidential elections in the spring. And Hollande's plan then, in the face of that, has been his promise to disperse the Calais migrants across France into reception migrant centres. Something like 40 or 50 individuals would be in each centre. They'd have up to 4 months to claim asylum. If they didn't, they'd be sent back home. But there are those who are very sceptical now about Hollande's promises on Calais. Of course, in the spring this year, in April, bulldozers were sent into Calais to raise part of the camp, but that didn't, of course, do anything, apparently, according to some reports, to decrease the numbers there. In fact, they apparently increased. Meanwhile, the humanitarian conditions in the camp only got worse. So a great deal of scepticism in the face of these continued promises. And the chaos that has been bestowed on the city has, of course, been going on now for years. And the name of the city has become synonymous with chaos. Let's recap.
Meanwhile, the announced plans to relocate Calais migrants have been, well, already met with public outrage. Around 1,000 protesters gathering near the capital to protest the possible construction of a new refugee camp near the iconic Palace of Versailles. The demonstrators waved banners accusing the government of irresponsibility and chanted slogans against the arrival of newcomers. They argue the camp does not have the approval of locals.
On vous a dit, ils sont extrêmes. Ah, ils sont extrêmes. Monsieur Briot, nous sommes extrêmes parce que nous voulons simplement défendre nos familles, protéger nos enfants et notre pays que nous aimons.
Que vont-ils faire de leur journée? Que font-ils de leur journée? Ils n'apprennent pas la langue française, on ne leur apprend pas les valeurs de la République. et on les laisse vaquer à leurs occupations et perpétuer des habitudes qui sont les leurs dans des pays qui ne sont pas du tout les mêmes que celles qu'on a dans notre pays. Et en termes sanitaires également, on n'est pas en capacité de les soigner correctement non plus.
Well, the new refugee camp is to be set up in a commune just 3 kilometers from Versailles. According to reports, it will occupy more than 20 hectares of land, and some have already dubbed the project a potential second Calais jungle, as a northern camp, of course, is currently known. Now, independent political analyst Nikola Mrkovic questions the government's relocation plan.
By multiplying Calais and all around France, you're going to be building lots of mini Calais with several hundred people at the beginning. Don't forget that at the beginning of the year 2000, when the migrants started arriving in Calais, they started a couple dozen, then a couple hundred, and now we calculate between 7,000 and 9,000 people over there, and that's why a lot of the French are afraid of that. So it's an open door policy, but there are no jobs. There's no infrastructure for greeting these migrants, which is creating political chaos. President Hollande is not doing so well today in public surveys. He's got a 15% approval rate, which means that 85% of the French today do not approve what he has done during these past 4 years. And I think he wants to bring immigration and the situation of Calais to the forefront of the elections, because he knows that that's going to be a stumbling block for the French population. And he wants to bring this to the forefront because Marine Le Pen is doing very, very strongly now. She is the most popular presidential candidate.
Human rights groups have repeatedly drawn attention to the difficulties that migrants have to go through to get to Europe and the conditions they live in, if indeed they get there. Up and coming now, the story of one Iraqi refugee who managed to leave the Calais jungle for a better life.
Even I don't know where I'm going. It's my direction. I don't know. But I'm tired here. My name is Bewar. I'm from Iraq. It's a bad life. It's not good. It's a bad situation. When I was in the jungle, no food, no sleep, it's cold, no clothes, no anything. Just like you die.
It's a busy Monday for news here on RT International. Time for a very short break here on the program. When we return, lots of stories, including that of a Palestinian girl mistaken as a terrorist in the West Bank, and she gets shot for it. We're back in a second.